The Source magazine once referred to today's artist as the West Coast answer to Nas. That's a statement nearly as headlining as the news about Tupac and Biggie being the faces of the West Coast versus East Coast beef that was going on in hip-hop around the same time. Except this rap artist and Nas could actually be noted as having a similar style and presence in hip-hop and their respective cities. Let's dig in.
3Z, stop, I'm boiling hot. Motherfuckers can't touch the style that I got. I murk them, they plot, preserve them, they not. Built for this game, these niggas don't deserve to wear chains. No, sir. So I'm chilling in it cut like a band-aid, thinking of a million ways just to get paid. Over that money, man, your whole clique gets sprayed.
Carson native Justin Austin IV, famously known as Ras Kass, was born on September 26, 1973. His name is mirrored after the Ethiopian Emperor Johannes IV, whose birth name was Ras Kass prior to being crowned. Before signing a deal and releasing his debut album, Ras Kass made noise in hip-hop when he independently dropped the single Remain Anonymous in 1994 through Patchwork's recordings. That noise earned him a hip-hop quotable in the Source magazine and appearances on radio shows and features on songs with other popular rap artists. Sway and Tech featured him on their song Come With It off the Street Fighter soundtrack alongside fellow LA rap artists Ahmad and Saphir. The radio duo also included him in their wake-up show Anthem 94 that also had Nas, Chino Excel, Saphir, Lauryn Hill, and Organized Confusion. He would also collaborate with Key Cool and Rhett Maddox. It was in 1996 that the industry would get to hear Ras Kass's own project and first album release, Soul on Ice. For those familiar with the civil rights activist, you remember that Eldridge Cleaver wrote a book of the same name, and that is what the album was titled after. Ras Kass took to speaking on racial issues within the songs on the Priority Records release, an album that was raved about for its complex lyrics and production. It featured tracks co-produced by Ras Kass along with Lamont Bird Hobie, Voodoo, Michael Flip Barber, and a few others, and also had a song produced by the West Coast legend DJ Battlecat called Marinating. The only artist featured was from Coolio on the song Drama. The album peaked at number 169 on the Billboard Top 200 and made it to number 35 on the top R&B hip-hop albums chart. The singles from the album were Soul on Ice and Anything Goes. One of my favorite joints from the album was Miami Life, a song that was featured on the soundtrack of the 1996 film The Substitute, starring Tom Berenger and Ernie Hudson. In 1997, Ras Kass appeared on a documentary called Rhyme and Reason. 2 years after the release of his first album in 1998, Priority Records released Ras Kass's second album, Assassination, which did much better on the charts. It reached number 63 on the Billboard Top 200 and number 11 on the top R&B hip-hop charts. The 18-track album release had production from Stubby Doo, Easy Mo B, and Ras Kass. Ghetto Fabulous, produced by Stubby Doo, featured Dr. Dre and Mac 10. Other artist features were from Jazzy Faye, Badass, Exhibit, RZA, Feel the Agony, Saphir, Corrupt, and Jay Skills. L. Drex and Twista also appeared on the album. Wikipedia quotes Interview with a Vampire as an underground classic and one of the album's best songs. That year, he also appeared in I Got the Hookup, a film that starred Master P and Anthony Johnson. In 2001, Ras Kass was in a dispute with Priority Records over the release of what would have been his third album titled Van Gogh. A song by the same name was also played on an episode of The Sopranos. Because the album had been bootlegged, Ras Kass wanted to redo the whole album. During the process, he decided to keep songs that had already been done and were produced by DJ Battlecat and Rockwilder. In addition, he had plans to get tracks from Dr. Dre, DJ Premier, and High Tech. Budget restrictions and weak promotion led to Van Gogh getting shelved, and a beef between Ras Kass and Priority Records started to build. Although never released, songs from the albums were played on popular urban radio stations in LA. In 2003, Ras Kass was arrested on a DUI charge in California. This being his third DUI, he was required to serve 19 months in jail. Still in dispute with Priority Records over album and single releases, his next project titled Golden Child suffered. Ras Kass wanted to release the song Golden Child that was produced by DJ Premier as the first single, and Priority wanted to release the Dr. Dre produced The Whoop as the first single. Maybe both parties have valid points in this dispute. The album being titled Golden Child makes sense for it to be the first single by the same name. At the same time, Ras Kass being a West Coast artist that was compared to Nas deserved his first single to have the famed West Coast producer instead of an East Coast one. With disagreements over the first single and constant conflict prior to serving his jail sentence, Priority Records decided not to release the album. Ras Kass was quoted as saying that pretty much the Priority executives expected him to create miracles with a little bit of nothing, but he always managed to do so. Ras Kass also had issues with The Alchemist overselling Ras Kass a beat that was later sold to Jadakiss. Jadakiss used that beat for the song We Gon' Make It, which became popular during the time. His incarceration also had an impact on a project that he was working on with rap conglomerate The Four Horsemen, in which he was teamed with Cannabis, Corrupt, and Killah Priest. The album titled The Horseman Project was expected to be released on Mic Club in the summer of 2004, but ended up being released independently by Killah Priest and Dreddy Kruger through Think Differently Music. The album featured tracks produced by Dreddy Kruger, Number 9, and Mark Sparks. After its release from jail in 2004, Ras Kass worked on his next album, Institutionalized. During this time, he was also negotiating release from his contract with Priority Records. Institutionalized had tracks produced by Sha Money Excel, The Heatmakers, Scram Jones, Rick Rock, and a few others. It had features from Killer Mike, Chamillionaire, Exhibit, Crooked Eye, 40 Glock, Young Buck, E40, DJ Who Kid, Sway, Jelly Roll, and other rappers known on the underground scene. Despite the well-known production and artist features, the project was released as a mixtape. Ras Kass continued to drop mixtapes and collaborate with other artists. On September 14th of 2006, Ras Kass and The Game got into a fight in Club Element in LA after The Game confronted him over a diss on the song Caution a year earlier. Ras Kass took a jab at The Game with the lyrics that were featured on the song that could get under anybody's skin. Ras Kass told allhiphop.com that The Game and a bunch of his homies jumped him and one other person, but they didn't do much damage. He went on to make fun of Game being on Change of Heart and also riding Dre's shirt tails to make it in the game. He said that he was unfazed by the incident and Game was no match for him both physically and lyrically. The Game fired back by telling allhiphop.com his version of the incident. He said that he was the only person that hit Ras Kass and Ras Kass was crazy for thinking that he was attacked by 30 people. He said that he never had beef with Ras Kass and they never really met except for quick exchanges in which they would greet each other. But The Game did take offense to Ras Kass speaking on his son, saying you could talk about me, but what does my son have to do with it? He said that he had saw Ras Kass in the club and walked up on him, but didn't really want to set things off because it was his friend's birthday. He said when the party was over, he asked him about his freestyle. He said that Ras Kass said it was nothing but started acting arrogant, so he punched him in the face before he could even finish. Game did say in a radio interview with Big Boy that he always felt like Ras Kass was one of the more underrated rappers. Then ended his interview by saying, "That's how I do. I'll beat you up and give you props at the same time." The next year in 2007, the beef was talked about in the documentary Beef 4. That same year, Ras Kass was released from his contract with Priority Records but would have to serve more jail time, this time for a parole violation. The rapper flew out to Atlanta for the BET Awards and was seen freestyling in a cypher with Cassidy and Joel Ortiz. This got him a 2-year jail sentence and also might have damaged his chances of signing another deal with a new label. 2 potential labels were rumored to be Def Jam and G-Unit Records. While in jail, Institutionalized Volume 2 was put out by Baby Grand Records in 2008, a label founded by Chuck Wilson, CEO of Triumph Media Holdings. The album had tracks mainly produced by Tony Rock, The Riffs, Blue Sky Black Death, and Sega. Crooked Eye and The Late Proof were some of the featured artists on the album. Ras Kass was released from the 2-year bid in May of 2009. In September of that year, he would also play J-Rock in an episode of Night Tales starring Flavor Flav. November of 2009, the quarterly would be released as a download on the Ras Kass Central website. It featured production from Pete Rock and artist features from Killah Priest, Mr. Fab, and other producers and artists. 2010 would launch a Kickstarter by Ras Kass to fund 1,000 CDs and 500 records for his Adidas project, an acronym for All Day I Dream About Spittin'. There was also a Save the Ras marketing campaign that consisted of web videos documenting the fall from grace that rappers sometimes go through. Through his campaigning, Ras Kass exceeded his goal of $3,800 that he was seeking for his project within 5 days. The limited edition Adidas double CD and LP was released in July of 2011. That year, in the documentary Rhyme and Punishment, Ras Kass talked about his arrest and jail sentence. In 2012, Ras Kass was featured on Ice-T's documentary Something from Nothing, The Art of Rap. After Ras Kass dropped a few bars for the camera, Ice-T told him that he felt like people get insulted by his intelligence and they don't get him because of it. Ras Kass responded by saying that he forces people to think and that his fans are people in college and people in prison. 2013 would mark the release of Barmageddon. It had features from Kendrick Lamar, Bishop Lamont, Too Short, Talib Kweli, and Yuckmouth. The album was released through Empire Distribution. Over the years, Ras Kass would have whispered appearances in various hip-hop documentaries and songs featured on soundtracks. In an interview with Vlad TV in January of 2018, Ras Kass was asked about his new project. He announced that he had signed a distribution deal with Priority Records, referring to it as going back to his abusive daddy, calling it hilarious. He said that he was also working on a group project, stating that he had linked up with Brooklyn lyricist El Gant and artist-producer J57 to form J-Mo Gang. Ras Kass and Gant have been acquainted for over a decade. They met through mutual connections, one of them being Shabam Sadiq, who they've done tours with over the years. They started collaborating and referring to themselves as the Ivy League. El Gant introduced Ras Kass to J57 after he was impressed by his production on Method Man's Purple Tape. Jameson, Irish Whiskey, and 3 recorded songs led to these guys becoming a trio. Their name is in tribute to the famous Irish Whiskey. DJ Premier co-signed the group's project during a listening party to introduce the group. He stated that the album would be worth our while, and although he did not do any production on the album, he did do some scratching on the song Highway. J57, who is also a member of the Brooklyn hip-hop group Brown Bag All-Star, produced all the tracks on the Avenida Records released project. We went to the web to dig up more information on J-Mo Gang, and they have been pretty active on the underground scene. Up on their YouTube channel, we found videos for their songs Go Away, Welcome to the Golden Era, All Eyes on Us, and some live video footage of their performances. In addition to artist collaborations, Ras Kass has a company called Create, which focuses on developing new artists and producers. He said that he would continue to do music because he's a creative, but explains that rap needs to grow up. He said that there's a natural evolution that's involved in developing new artists. Last month, in late November, Ras Kass went at Joyner Lucas in response to a line that Joyner used to describe Tory Lanez in his Liddy freestyle. Joyner went at Lanez with the bars, "You say you ain't half bad, but you rapping like Ras Kass." Ras Kass used it as fuel and took the opportunity to flex his lyrical muscle on the rapper in the track titled Smoke Break, stating, "Nobody rap like Ras do, clarified. I'd never let you slide. Every nigga verified is terrified." At the end of the return fire, Ras Kass told Joyner Lucas that things were all good, saying that that's what makes rap exciting. He did, though, leave him with a comment advising that he can spit over any type of beat, even a Family Guy beat. Matter of fact, he gave him a quick line over the Family Guy intro. Before we end this episode, we do want to note that the 4 Horsemen are still in motion. Although he had his ups and downs with the group and announced resigning in 2012, he returned in 2014 to drop bars on the track Historic that was featured on the Cannabis album Fait Accompli. Each of the original 4 members were on the track, as well as Tragedy Gaddafi. It was dope to see Ras Kass still motivated. The collaborations and projects that he's involved in are definitely buzzworthy. He has been ranked as one of the top 50 MCs of our time and one of the best rappers of all time. Lyrical hip-hop will never get old to his loyal fans. If you consider yourself a fan of lyrical technique, he deserves mention in your conversations. Do you have legendary artists or producers from your city that you would like to see featured or acknowledged on future episodes of Heard on the Streets? Tell us about them in the comments.